Hi Anushka, how are you?
Hi Vashi, I'm doing great. I hope your day is going well too.
Yep, definitely going well. And thank you for taking up the time for this. So, give us a brief introduction about yourself, about your profile, academics, what have you done, work experience, all those things.
Right, yeah. So I'm Anushka, and as of now, I work at CRISIL as a senior fundamental research analyst on the buy side team for foreign mutual funds. I have about, I'd say, almost 4.5 years of experience under my belt. Most of that has been on the sell side. So before I came to CRISIL, I was working with Arihant Capital at their institutional research desk. Um, and that was my first job. Before that, I was in college. Of course, I did a finance degree from NMIMS. And yeah, I completed my schooling in the Middle East and I came to India for college. Then I got a job, so I stayed.
Perfect. You missed out, you're a CFA Charterholder. I think that was one of the big
Oh, yeah.
things.
Yeah, so my bad. Yeah, I was CFA charter holder. I got the charter while I was working side by side. So
Yeah,
that was fun.
yeah, great. Not an easy thing to forget, but yeah, that's definitely a
I'm
lot of
surprised it
hard
slipped
work.
my mind.
Yeah, no worries. So, your reason, I just want to understand your reason for reaching out to LilacBuds. What were you looking to pursue? You obviously were thinking of, an MBA degree at that time. That was your primary reason. So, how did that go? Your research phase coming out to us. Let's go about that.
So initially, I mean, I came from a typical Indian family that had that, MBA karo, that thing going on. So I just kind of thought, ki, ha, now I've reached an age, it's time for me to do an MBA. So I started looking into it, and most of the good colleges were in the US. So I thought, okay, I can settle, maybe live in America for a while, then I'll see where life takes me. And then as I was looking into it, I realized that, I was honestly a bit daunted by the whole process of applying, and there's a lot of paperwork and all that, forms to fill and deadlines to keep track of. So I thought, it would help me if I had, like, a consultant perhaps holding my hand through this, at least the first time if I'm doing it. So that's where, I heard about Lilac Birds, doing my own research online. Actually, someone on Reddit recommended you to me, and I ended up becoming friends with that person. I think he's at Cornell now. He might be graduating this year.
Yep.
Um, yeah,
I think
Mohit, I
he
think
worked with
his
your
name was.
mentor only. I remember now who you're referring to. So he worked with
Mohit,
Rajiv.
right?
Yes, Mohit, right. So he
Yeah.
worked with Rajiv so for his applications, and I think you did also. But yeah.
Yeah, I did. I did.
Mhm.
So that was, yeah, that was my thought process. But down the line, I kind of, when I stepped away a bit from the MBA frenzy and I took a macro view of my life, I kind of realized that I didn't want to really go for an MBA. I didn't want to live in the US long term, and my life goals and all, it didn't align with that. So I pivoted to an MIF, and I applied to London Business School on a whim, and luckily I got in. So that's what I'm working on right now, the whole visa process and everything.
Perfect. So let's talk about one of the pivotal things that every MBA applicant thinks about is test scores. So how was
Yeah.
your journey for a test score, GMAT, GRE? How did that land up for you?
So I went the waiver route because, I mean, very frankly, the year that I was applying, I had a lot going on work wise and in my personal life as well. I moved houses a couple of times, and um, I changed jobs as well, and was working around 12 hours a day. So it was difficult for me to get a score. The score that I wanted, I did try. I gave the GMAT twice, but my score was not improving significantly. But I luckily was a CFA charter holder by that time. So it helped me request waivers from all the colleges that saw online were giving waivers, and most of them did give me waivers. So in that regard, I guess I was lucky.
Great. So now coming down to which schools did you apply for? What were your results, scholarships? Let's talk about that.
Oh God, I applied to so many. I honestly, I don't remember all of them. I think upwards of 15 or 18 colleges I applied because I thought that, since I don't have a GMAT score, and even Rajiv advised that I do this, that I apply to as many as I can. So I think all of the, in all of the top 20, 25 schools in the US, I had applied to, almost all of them. And out of all of them, I got a $75,000 scholarship from Carnegie Mellon, a $65,000 scholarship from USC Marshall, around a $90,000 scholarship from Rice. And yeah, that's it. Those three schools had offered me scholarships. But
And
besides those, I got it. Sorry.
no, no, go ahead.
Okay. Besides those, I had also gotten into, I think I got into Vanderbilt, and I don't remember quite a few more, but they were slightly lower tier, so I didn't really think about them too much.
Yeah, I think that Georgetown was one and UNC was, I
Yeah,
think, another where you did get
yes,
into.
yes.
But now you end up going to London Business School for your master's in finance. So that's definitely one of the big ones. So again, that pivot from thinking of an MBA journey to an MIF, was that an easy transition to make, or deciding, at least I have somewhere as a Tepper with a 75K or a USC with a 65K scholarship versus an LBS? So any scholarship from LBS, did that make the decision easier? How about that?
Not at all, actually. That was a very, like, it wasn't easy for me to come to terms with the fact that I didn't want to do an MBA anymore and I didn't want to go to America anymore. That was because that was my life plan ever since I was a kid. And suddenly I'm like, hey, this isn't for me. And you know, on a personal note, I want to get married and all that. And my now fiance also is going to the UK. So I thought that, the US isn't really spouse friendly that way. And I'm seeing what's happening now. The political climate is a bit jaunty. Like it might get better. I'm not saying it might not get better. It might happen, but there's no guarantee at this point of time. And it just, when I looked at everything, it just didn't make sense to me. And for me to come to terms with that was difficult. I won't lie. But in the end, I decided that, I have family in the UK, close family too, and quite a bit, so I'll have a support system. And yeah, I just decided that I'd be happier probably if I went to
I think,
London
yeah,
Business School.
that's what it matters
Yeah.
in the end. So coming down to, uh, how did that first admit feel? Obviously the application process is definitely daunting. Interviews come, it takes a lot of toll. So how did that feel, that first admit, oh, I have gotten somewhere. Yes, schools are accepting me. So how is that? And where, just describe that experience if you could.
Honestly, I got rejections before I got admits. So I applied to a lot of schools, and obviously the better schools like Duke's and all, they rejected me. And I got those before I got my first admit was from Carnegie Mellon, I think, with the scholarship. So I was kind of down before I got it because self-esteem was kind of bad because I got rejected so much. But when I got that first admit with the scholarship, I was like, oh, I feel so relieved. It was a relief more than anything else that, I was thinking that I wasn't capable or something like that, but it was good to know that that's not the case.
Perfect. So we did discuss, Anushka, that Rajiv sir was your mentor throughout the process. So one highlight of your complete experience working with him where, things really helped you out, or you felt, okay, this was not something which could have happened without his assistance. Not assistance, I would say, but yes, okay, this was important and, it was nice working with him. Or how was that overall experience?
I'd say that I think Rajiv sir has a lot of knowledge, and even though I know that, like, he's probably busy, had a lot of people, but the few moments that I did spend with him on call, I did learn a lot. Like, he helped me with around 7 or 8 colleges, and the rest of the colleges I handled myself, and I got into them as well, and I wouldn't have done that without his help. When it came to things like writing essays, knowing which angle to take, how to structure them, how to tackle interviews. Well, he told me just practice, he gave me a list of questions and he was like, practice this. And I don't think I would have been able to do it by myself as easily as I did with his help, definitely. And I appreciate that from him. He did teach me a lot, even though he helped me with a few schools, but those few schools helped me apply to the rest. So I
True.
appreciate that.
See, obviously, the application process is on similar lines. So once you get a hang of things,
Yeah,
obviously, I won't say you do one on one with a mentor, so the rest become easier. But yes, you do at least 6 to 7 with a mentor. So then you do get a fair idea how things progress, and you yourselves then
yeah,
are able to handle things. No doubt about it. So amazing.
yeah.
So Anushka, coming down to anything throughout the process, or before in the MBA journey you struggled with, or where you felt, yes, connecting with LilacBuds helped me out in this aspect. Anything you would like to share if there is any?
There was, I mean, there was one specific moment where I was like pretty grateful. I needed my West transcripts, and I had applied for those like a month and a half, like in advance, or 2 months in advance, and they were still stuck up in the process. And there was, I think, one deadline that was just a few days away. And I called Rajiv sir one morning, and I just wanted to discuss with him, because I was like, it might not come now, so does round two make sense for me, because I might miss this deadline because I need the transcript. I don't have it yet. And he said, I'll just call the guy at West, the head of India, and I'll tell him to move yours along. So and I ended up getting the transcript the same day, which I hadn't gotten for almost 2 months before that. So that was like, that was very helpful and kind of relieving for me.
Yeah, these small things, might not be a
Yeah,
big thing, but yes, you end up missing a round on a deadline. So it certainly alleviates that pressure also. This is one less thing for me to handle. Perfect.
yeah.
So, Anushka, any advice you would have for future applicants who are thinking of pursuing a master's in your case, or an MBA, or that decision of an MBA versus master's, which is something you learned during your application journey, because you had come to us for
Mhm.
an MBA, but ended up now
Yeah.
are ending up going to a master's program. So this is like a very learning curve or a learning experience. So, based on your experience, what would you like to share with them?
I'd say that study for the job that you want, because I work in core finance and I intend to keep working in core finance after I graduate. I don't want to go into consulting per se. So, the MBA thing started to make less and less sense for me personally. So, I would say that, do your research, I guess, just have a plan, and, consider many perspectives if you can. I don't be dead set on one thing, you know, and not have an open mind to, possibly other courses, because you never know what might happen.
True, very true. Wise words, I would say, for any applicant who's thinking of pursuing, a future degree. Because yes, everybody think, okay, I need to have that clarity before getting into an application journey. But your experience says you think of something, but once you get into that learning mode, because the pre-application process in itself teaches you a lot. So then you try figuring
Yeah.
yourself out. So that's actually true. Thank you so much for this, Anushka. Very happy to be a tiny bit part of your journey. Happy to see you going to your choice of school at London Business School for your master's in finance. And it's been a pleasure interacting with you and working with you here at Lilac Buds. Thank you so much for your
Likewise,
time.
Vashi. Likewise, thank you. You've been very helpful for the past like year and a half, and I'm very happy that I got to, work with you guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anushka.
Okay, you're welcome. Bye bye.
So